Hello and welcome back to Shifting Tones, the podcast with nerdy tones and shifting formats. I am today's host, Steph, and I'm joined by my co-host, Sam.
Hello, everyone. It is me, Sam.
And Larissa.
Hiya.
So, hi guys. How's it going? It's been a day, but I'm ready to do this podcast. I'm very excited for today's theme and topic, so I kind of want to just gloss over the how you doings and get to it, but I know I should probably ask how you guys are doing.
I'm
good. That's good. It sounds like it's been a day for you. What do you mean by that? Hopefully it's been a good one. Just give us a quick recap of what's your emotions going into this podcast today.
The quick and dirty.
Yeah.
The quick and dirty. Okay. So quick and dirty is I had blood on me today from a student. Yes.
Oh, what a
so
sweet
that's
gift.
the dirty.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
It was an accident thing.
Sure.
And then
just,
in the nurse's office, that type of stuff, for parent pickup. But anywho, that was the messy part of
That's the dirty of the quick and dirty. Yeah,
absolutely. And hopefully the student's okay.
The student's okay.
Okay,
yes, it's gotten handled.
Steph, did you cause the blood?
No, I did not. Absolutely.
Okay,
not.
good. Okay, good.
No.
Good.
Funny enough, they weren't even my students, so
wow.
I was just consoling and helping out
Sure.
because it was kind of an emergency thing.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah.
Go Steph.
But other than that, it was good, decent. Love when we're in the middle of state testing and then the website doesn't work for the entire state. Love that. We love that.
The whole state went down?
Whole state
Love
down.
it.
So
wow. Well, at least it wasn't just you.
yes, so it's like not a me issue. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's
Thanks
just
a lot, Utah.
you never know what is going to happen when you go into work. It's always different.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the I don't know. Everything's
Absolutely.
just different and fun. I could tell a million stories. I could write a book. There's just so many things that happen each and every day. Those are kind of the things that happen to me.
Wow. Sam, are you going to start your controversial corner right away then?
No, I just don't know how to read.
I mean, you know how to read.
Oh, I could teach you.
I could read in Spanish then, right?
Yeah, if you want. I could teach you phonics in English and phonics in Spanish if you would like.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, Sam always jokes that he doesn't know how to read because he just doesn't like to read. And so his brothers are very
avid readers.
Avid, yes, that is the word I was looking for. Like they constantly are reading a book, reading the latest essay about political topics and whatever's going on in society today. And so they don't even bother asking Sam, like, "Oh, what you've been reading?" or anything like that, because they know.
Yeah, but they don't
funny.
know how to win on turn 1 in Yu-Gi-Oh.
They don't. You're correct.
See. Let's
but
think
how
about
do you know-
what's important. You know?
Yeah, but you gotta read the cards.
No, you gotta read deeper into it, Steph. And trust in the heart of the cards.
Absolutely.
that's fair.
No need to read them because you can sense it with your spirit, you know?
Right.
Okay.
What did we do this past Monday, Larissa?
What did we do? Oh, yeah. We can bring that up real quick. As all of you know, you're probably mostly an American audience. And I think we do have a few European ones, and I believe they were
we got a
also
whole
the
world. We have a whole world.
Yeah.
Australia, Belarus.
It's true.
Benin.
Yeah, I always am confused on how to pronounce
Are you
that country.
okay?
It's like Benin. It's like Benin. It's not a
We
strange
love you regardless.
country.
Thank you for listening.
It's hard to pronounce for an English speaking person, so I apologize for the one
Benin.
person.
I know what their
living
flag
there.
looks like.
Yeah, it's cool. But anyway, we witnessed totality through the eclipse. So yeah, hopefully you also got a chance to at least experience at least a partial eclipse. And it was really cool.
Yes.
We went down to our local downtown event and sat in the grass. And it was just really cool to have like a community bonding experience over something that's like a once in a lifetime opportunity for at least most people.
Yeah, I was the polar opposite where
Oh,
I did see it. Don't get me wrong,
Good.
but I did not want to be by people because I didn't want to have to drive.
That's
I was like,
fair.
everybo's
Oh.
going to have to leave and go home. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's awful. So I was like, nah, you
That's
know
fair.
what? I'll just step outside my house,
Yep.
hang out with my mom, and that be that.
Oh, that's
You
good.
do live in a slightly more busy metropolitan area
Mhm.
as far as like relativity compared to us. So like
yeah.
traffic wasn't bad for us.
No.
You know?
Well, that's good.
No, absolutely not.
In my area, it definitely was a lot because later
Salt
that
Lake
day,
City.
later that day, I went and I had to pick up like some pictures that I got developed and printed. So
Oh wow, you took some pictures of it?
No,
Oh,
no,
it's different
absolutely not.
pictures.
Different pictures. They were the pictures actually from my wedding. Some of the disposable
nice.
cameras.
Yeah, I bet that'll be fun to look through.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
We
I
only
don't
have-
remember. I mean, I remember using it, but I don't remember what I took photos of.
That's the fun part.
Exactly.
And most people at the event apparently has never touched a camera, a disposable camera ever.
I'm not
there's
surprised.
so many just like, okay, this is nothing. But there's a couple good ones, so that's good.
Good. That's
Part
really
of my small
exciting.
talk has to do with cameras today.
Yeah,
So
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah,
One
I'll
with
go
me.
through my quick and dirty. Oh yeah, sorry. Finish up, Lewis. I apologize.
Oh no, I didn't get to. I wanted to end specifically my small talk today because it may or may not segue into our main topic today. So you go on ahead. But the eclipse was
Oh.
cool. So Sam, you go on.
Yeah, watched the eclipse this weekend. Built a roof on my mom's shed,
Yeah.
tore off the old one, and then put on a new one. And I'm not a fan of roofing,
No.
but I technically did all like the parts of it: tear off, tar paper, drip edge, and re-roof, and the top of it, the little edge, of the eave and stuff like that.
Yeah. You may know
cut
Bob the
myself up.
Builder. No, it's Sam the Builder from this weekend.
Sam-
So
Well, Bob also helped too.
that's true. That is
That's
very
crazy.
true.
Bob did build.
Bob and Sam
but
the
yeah,
Builder.
cut up my knuckles, got my boots all nice and dirty. It got new tools though
gosh.
out of it. Yeah, I spent a lot of money. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. But it was a good time. But enough about that. You guys don't want to
Mhm.
know about the roof. You want to know how
No.
I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So number one, Sam's Controversial Corner 2024. Deep dish pizza isn't real pizza. I'm not getting into it. Number two,
Okay.
Well,
foods need to be more creative. We need more creative names. This was actually brought to me by a fan of the show. Thank you for listening.
Oh.
They wanted me to bring this up, is that
I
foods need more
mean,
creative names.
That's very controversial.
like what?
Okay, so like if you were to go make a meal and you were to Google a meal real quick and you're like, oh man, I'm feeling this, and it's gonna be like, 4 cheese, chicken, mushroom,
Sure.
pasta, and it's like, that's not creative. Make it sound more like, I don't know, something. Give it a weird Italian name. Give it called like the gabagool or something like that. Because
Right.
I don't know, like I just feel like foods don't have exciting names anymore, and that's what he was telling me about, and I agreed. And I think
All right.
instead of just like semi-sweet chocolate chip chewy cookies,
Right.
they could be called like yummies in my tummies. I don't know. I'm just it's
All
it's
right.
all there. Number 3, it's not controversial, but next time any man, or you hear any specifically man say that he's an alpha male, ask him if that's a furry thing.
That's fair.
I feel like I've
Just
heard that like
Emasculate
said
him a little bit.
before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just thinking about it the other day, and I thought it was pretty funny. I was like, I'm gonna.
Why
say
are you
that on
thinking
the
about
podcast.
alpha males?
No, because we watched a video.
We did.
You're so
where
defensive
this
real
girl
quick.
this girl was talking about this guy on TikTok who is
He's a
like
dating
the
coach.
least dateable man ever, is a dating coach, quote unquote, and he's
Mhm.
just a huge loser.
Yeah, it was very
And,
interesting. Lots of alpha talk, lots of Sigma
Misogyny,
talk. Yeah, we don't really need to get into it, but if there happen to be any young men listening, just
don't be an
Just
incel.
don't. Just don't.
Don't
Yeah,
be an
just
incel.
don't be an incel.
touch grass, talk to
yeah, touch
people
grass.
as if they're your friend, man or woman, or any other sort of gender. And I think you might be okay, just listen and live your life.
2 more quick points. These aren't controversial, but this is just my thing. I've been noticing, you talked about cameras. Digital cameras are coming back, so I'll
Yes.
probably be using mine more often. The Gen Z and Gen Xers are using digital cameras as opposed to disposable or Polaroid or their phones. I've noticed they have them like on their little like bracelets and they're carrying them around. I mean,
It's
why
cute.
not bring them back? And point number Q. Speaking of, we watched an interesting documentary this weekend about how 4chan accidentally created QAnon and pretty much won Trump the
Anonymous.
election. And the guy who created 4chan, Moot, feels really bad about it and then had to leave the
Yeah.
company because he wanted it to be a safe space for Japanese culture on the internet and just share memes and silly stuff. And then it turned into
A nightmare.
incels and hate crimes.
Oh.
Yeah, it was fascinating. If you have Netflix, feel free to watch it. It's called The
The
Antisocial
Antisocial
Network.
Network. Yep.
10 out of 10. Lots of internet discussions, which also is a good segue to today's topic as well.
Well, it's not your topic. It's not your topic.
No, but
I was waiting for Larissa what her last
yes,
point
Larissa
has
was.
one last
point,
She
yeah.
had a final
I
point to say.
did. So, over the weekend, I had some downtime because, the eclipse, it was super cool, but it only is a couple hours. If you're watching the whole thing, you got to be doing something else with your weekend, so I watched a lot of Bleach, and I have almost finished the entire air of the original series. And
wow.
yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely a ride. I have definitely grown out of it. That's probably a good thing, though.
Just from watching through it, you're getting tired of watching it, or you're just like, I'm not as into this as I used to be as a kid?
Correct, the second one.
Okay.
And so I don't think it's a bad anime by any means. I think it's a fantastic one if you're really into your traditional shonen power scaling sort of anime. It's really good. And honestly, I think that if you go back and watch it and watch modern shonen, you would recognize that a lot of what's going on today is from Bleach. And I think, Sam, you may have noticed that as well. You are kind of watching it here and there. It's very
Bleach.
interesting. And the most interesting aspect, though, of watching it is that the original airing of the anime started in 2002. Or no, 2004, I believe. 2 or 4. I think.
Oh, 4.
One could have been Japan, then later could have been America.
But anyway, the Japanese end airing date was in 2012. So it's fascinating to watch it from a historical aspect from TV alone, because the aspect ratio went from a square in the center of my flat screen TV to a little bit bigger until the last season or two, it's full screen. I was like, oh my God, it's full screen now. It's just huge. I don't know. I think it was just really cool to know that, I lived through that sort of experience of watching a square, big fatback TV to now we're watching our TVs on 42-inch displays, even bigger than that. And that's not even crazy expensive anymore. So I thought that was really cool. And yeah, that was my thing about Bleach and my update about that. I haven't quite finished it, but I am excited to watch the 2 seasons that came out a couple years ago. That was in response to the 20th anniversary of when it originally aired. So yeah, it would have been 2004 cool. Then. 2002, because it came out in 2022. The anniversary event happened.
All right, we're that segue time. That was a good.
That was
segue.
Quick, right? Only 12 minutes.
Sorry,
no, we're good. No, we're fine. We got plenty of time. So segue. Speaking of anime, and I do understand what you're saying, Larissa, because I currently am going through One Piece, and so we did finally hit that cut off and shift to a bigger screen. But speaking of different anime, today's topic is kind of a big one. We're going to be talking about almost fandom culture, but there's a different subsection of it that we're going to talk about. Previously on the podcast, we have discussed a different type of fandom culture, and we've talked about fan fiction, writers. Yeah. I mean, hell, we even talked about what I wrote as a kid. We talked about different tropes and genres of fan fiction, that type of thing. But we're going to do more of a deep dive into a different aspect of fandom culture, which involves video editing, which I don't think people talk about a lot.
No.
At least I've never been a part of any conversations in regards to editing and video editing in terms of fandom, in the fandom lens, I should say.
Me neither.
So
I've seen
there's a couple.
Sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that there's if I see any discussion about it, it's from very niche, small YouTube creators talking about it from a historical standpoint, which are always fascinating to watch. And I'm thinking of one creator in particular. And again, as always, as I do, I don't remember their name, but it's out there.
So today, we're going to be talking about the various different types of video editing that's out there in fandom stuff. But what happened is that I actually had my lovely co-hosts kind of sit through a lecture.
Yes.
I made them sit, what was it, an hour and 20 minutes?
I don't remember. I fell asleep
crazy.
5 minutes in.
Yeah, we had to take a break for a phone call at some point. But I do think that we did recognize you as Sensei during that lecture.
Yes. So I kind of put on my teacher hat, for my friends, but I had to make sure that we all had a discussion about it, because there's a lot we're going to cover and talk about in this discussion. Because I knew Larissa may have known a couple things here and there, but I was kind of had the feeling that Sam may not know as much.
What?
So I had video examples as well pulled up on YouTube, and I don't know your guys' thoughts. I kind of was the presenter presenting to I felt like almost like, in a college where it's like a big auditorium of
Yes.
you may have a lot of people listening to you, but nobody like reacts or anything like that. Like you're just talking to a blank wall and kind of like spouting your voice into the ether, right?
Yeah.
I kind of felt like that, but now I had you guys take notes on your thoughts and feelings in regards to everything that I discussed. So I kind of want to have a discussion now and actually understand and get your thoughts, feelings, opinions, yada, yada, based on what I taught you and what we were kind of going over.
Yeah,
So,
it was really cool.
Yeah. So the first category, we got a lot to talk about, so we're going to kind of go through it here. But the first fandom video editing thing that we're going to talk about is AMVs. And for those of you who may not know what an AMV is, it is considered an anime music video. That's why, we had the segue with anime. But it's an anime music video. Sometimes they're called animated music videos. But that would refer more to like cartoons edited in the same style as like an anime music video, but more so they're more commonly known and associated with anime in particular. So the first thing we kind of opened up with was the past AMVs versus like present AMVs. So what did you guys think when we talked about AMVs?
Yeah, it was really fun. And just so you know, we were attentive listeners. It's just I had technical difficulties with my Discord that we went over with it. So I wasn't able to talk through the mic. So I was like gearing up to like for this conversation today so I can finally like explode everything. Yeah, no, it was really cool. And so back in the day, I used to watch a lot of AMVs when I was like in 7th and 8th grade, which is probably like the peak golden age, I feel like, for anime, which would have been like 2008.
Yeah.
The period of like 2006 to 2010 is usually considered the golden age of anime, at least in America, for like cons and that sort of like fandom culture. And so, yeah, it's fascinating. And I actually pulled up my old YouTube favorites playlist and I was like, oh my goodness, I have some examples I can show you. And I was like pasting them into the classroom discussion. It
was so funny because you started spamming AMVs. You're like, I love these ones. It was just so funny.
Yeah. And so watching them back now, like talking about like TV aspect ratios from like Bleach and from like One Piece, like you said, it's fascinating because the quality, it's not great. And you even mentioned that a lot of them is just directly ripped from like someone's like screen recording of a thing. Sometimes it was even almost honestly like someone recording like through a video their TV.
Yeah, it's possible. Back in the day, there's one of the examples I showed, and I was just like you, Larissa. I watched AMVs and consumed AMVs a lot, and I made AMVs.
So cool.
And I mean, back when they were first kind of started on YouTube and when YouTube first began, I mean, they were made with mostly Windows Movie Maker.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even exist anymore.
No, which is wild to me.
So most people kind of use that. And that was kind of the only thing out there for video editing, unless you were paying like, big money that like actual companies used.
Yeah. And back in that time in YouTube, no one was spending money on any of their things.
Exactly.
No one was making money from YouTube. Like there wasn't even a possibility to do that when these were first created. So these were just all like labors of love. And so just watching them, it's like, these are clearly amateurs. They don't know what they're doing. But it's fun because you can tell that they're uploading it to see if they can get a reaction from the community and have like a communal experience that wasn't that common in potentially back in your school, because for your youngins out there, anime was not widely accepted as like it is today back then. So that was really one of the only ways you could find community is if you edited AMVs and or watched them and like communicated in like the comment section in YouTube.
Now, Sam, did you ever watch AMVs growing up or knew about them at all or anything like that?
No. I didn't know what an AMV was until college when I met you, essentially. And it was literally
says a lot.
through like passing, I was one of those kids that definitely thought like anime was like, for nerds and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, because I watched
dwellers.
Dragon Ball Z and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, and that was the extent of it. I was more of into cartoons than anime, and I would even see it on like Toonami and stuff. I'm like, who's watching Inuyasha or Yu Yu Hakusho and
Right.
like all these older shows? And I'm like,
Mhm.
that's lame. Like even Naruto pop up. I'm like, a bunch of nerds.
Mhm.
So no, I didn't know what it was. I mean, I knew what they were once you told me about them, like in college, and I've never really gone on my way to watch one before. At least the older ones and stuff. Like sometimes newer stuff pops up on TikTok, but I know we'll get into that later. But yeah, no, I had no idea.
What'd you think of them? Just in general.
Yeah, seeing the old ones that I kind of showed you. Like for example, audience and listeners out there, I showed some that were from 17. I found one from 18 years ago posted on YouTube. So they were super old, blurry. The highest quality on one was 240p on a YouTube video, for example. A lot of them had subtitles still posted in the video. And some of the subtitles were in a different language other than English that were in the AMV as well.
Sometimes it would be like fan subs too, because a lot of the times back then you didn't have a lot of what we call dubs, is where it was like translated into for English speakers. Here, you would literally have to like pirate anime. That was the only way to watch it. Like you could not legally download it or watch it on Crunchyroll like today. And so people would literally like rip it from Japan once it came out, and you would have to wait patiently for some fan who knew Japanese to make the subs for you, the subtitles, and then you would be able to watch it. And so that's what people usually used for AMVs back in the day too.
So my biggest thing is that, going from the past when AMVs kind of first started, the transition from what they started as to what they are now is so vastly different.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, I've been, ever since I was a kid, kind of ever since YouTube first started back in 2006, AMVs were being uploaded, and they're still being uploaded to this day. It's just more so widely known, but kind of the tone has shifted. But it has shifted a little bit, because initially AMVs were just kind of like, oh, here's a couple clips from the show put to maybe one of my favorite songs. Or maybe it's an emotional moment in the show and you're like, okay, Linkin Park, let's go, right? So there's a lot of emo rock more so associated. Absolutely. Some pop songs, of course, too, whatever was popular during the time. Maybe some love songs if it's featuring two characters that you ship in the anime. But more recently, there's been of course, all those things are still being put out with AMVs. There's so much creativity and you can do whatever with it, right? But I feel like it's more common now from the emo rock that kind of dominated, shifting over to like trap, hip hop,
absolutely,
rapping, that type of tone has shifted again. But sorry. But it's super interesting to see even just with that. But now, even with like the more underground rap scene and cloud, what is it called? Cloud. Oh my God, I said it yesterday. SoundCloud. Thank you. Like up and coming artists or SoundCloud rappers or just anyone trying to kind of like promote their stuff is also putting their own music that they create and having anime as a visual, and they're kind of having their own AMVs to their own music. And it's a really cool way to be like, hey, I like this anime. It looks awesome as a visual for my music, but then it can also connect and relate to audience and listeners who might, like the same anime and stuff. Yeah. So it's a really interesting way to use AMVs now. Something that we did talk about too, and I wanted to get your reaction. I know I'm talking a bunch, but I'm kind of trying to lead the conversation. But something that's been around for a long time, we talked about, you briefly mentioned it, Larissa, about like anime conventions.
Yes.
But there's always been AMV contests at anime conventions. So if you're not aware, anime conventions, you can go, you celebrate all things anime, and they have a featured spot where people can submit and upload their AMVs that they create, and then people judge them and they give them, placements. So you could have like first place, second place, third. But all these people will just sit in a room. It's like considered like a panel. And you sit and watch AMVs. So it's really fascinating because before kind of social media blew up, it's as if, instead of uploading it to YouTube, you submit it to this anime convention that's local in your area. People go and sit as an audience together and they watch your AMV. So it's almost like you take YouTube, but instead of having people just watch it all in their houses on their own, they're all together in a room. So you get that live reaction. So if you put something funny in there, people may laugh, or like, you know, the emotions, like, and people can clap or cheer all together. Like, it's a very interesting concept, and it still is around to this day. And sometimes you will see AMVs happen where on YouTube they say best, you know, number one in this, in, say, for example, Anime Boston #1 AMV contest winner. Like, it's so interesting because then they'll, you know, put it on social media after too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when I brought up some of my old favorite ones, like, I noticed that one of the ones that, like, I absolutely adored, I never read the video description, and it said that it was a winner for an anime convention. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then I scrolled down to the comments, and like, there's some people who are still watching it to this day, like the same video that was uploaded like 15, 18 years ago, and they're like, this one is still my favorite to this day. And I was like, wow, that's really cool that people are still like having community around these sort of things that most likely occurred in a con 15 years later. It's really fun.
But it's memorable because it's like the same thing. You guys watch the eclipse with a lot of people because it's memorable, right? So same thing. If you watch this anime, or if you watch this anime music video and you're like, oh my gosh, that was like awesome, and you're with your friends watching it and you're talking about it, like, it's a very good memory. So that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you mentioned a little off topic from the contest that, like, it's interesting that like present AMVs now, or like in the past you would have like used like pirated content. Now these are being produced and featured by like the anime studios themselves from like fan edits and stuff. And I think that's a really interesting aspect of from like something that went from like an underground scene to something that's like even like withheld and like regarded highly within the actual industry, which is really cool.
Any comment, Sam?
I agree.
I know, he loves it, all the nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one that kind of is still like an AMV that I had talked to you guys about was the ASMV, which is just the anime story music video. So they're the same thing. It's an anime music video, but this time it features a story, and it specifically tells a story. So they're way more like focused. So there's so much variation to it. And that's kind of just why I was bringing it up, is because you can tell a sad story, you can tell a happy story, or you can just tell the story of one character and their POV in an anime. But it still all ties to the same category. This is just an anime music video.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's really cool from like a narrative standpoint of like something that like I think you even mentioned where like you might have the ability inside of you to be creative, but you don't necessarily want to come up with your own original concept or characters. And so there's this ready-made medium for you to go ahead and plug them in and create your own story with these characters that you probably didn't see in the anime that you would have preferred to have seen. And so it's really interesting from that point for like development of young creatives where they really are itching to get their like feet into something, but they're just not quite ready or polished enough to, or confident enough to make their own stories.
Quite a lot of times too of the anime story music videos, these ones have more so like almost like trailer music or like cinematic music. It's a little more, not to say dramatic, but they're trying to get that emotion. So it might not be like, for example, like the Linkin Park or the SoundCloud rapping type of music. It might be like just, you know, a movie track more so, where it's still a music that's being played, but without lyrics to make more of an impact too. But I think that it also can be very nostalgic for people.
Absolutely.
If like, for example, if you haven't seen Naruto in a while and you're like, oh yeah, and then you see all these clips together of like how Naruto becomes Hokage, it can be emotional because you're like, oh my gosh, I grew up with that. Yeah, he made it, you know? So I always like that. But another one for the AMVs that we're going to talk about that I kind of had to teach you, and I even had to teach you about this one, Larissa, and I was very surprised about this one. It is called an MEP. And an MEP, same thing. It's still part of the AMV kind of world, but it is a multi-editor project.
Yeah, so I didn't know.
Yeah, so you have an AMV, right? But instead of editing the whole thing, which could be anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes, depending on the length of the song, somebody says, hey, I want to use this song. So let's say, for example, let's do TikTok by Kesha, right? Let's say that. Hey, I really like this song. I think this is going to go with high Q. Why not? Let's just do that. So I have the anime picked out and I have the song, but I don't want to edit the whole thing. People would send out a post or a video saying, hey, who wants to join me on this project? So different video editors say, hey, I want to do this, blah, 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 blah. And then what happens is you assign different parts. So say someone might be, I want to do part 1. I want to do part 2. I want to do part 10, right? And different parts have different timestamps in the song. So it might be the first moment of the song to 10 seconds. The next person might edit 10 seconds to 20 seconds. So you only have a very short part to edit. And then when it's all done and the whole song is done, you have a completed AMV. It's just that different people worked on it. So that's considered an MEP.
Yeah, which I never really thought about. I probably wandered across them naturally, but never read the video descriptions for them. So I wouldn't have noticed all the different creators working on these projects. But thinking back to it now, and especially for older AMVs, like I said, the community was so spread out. You probably would not have had that many friends in your local high school to group together and literally share a flash drive from one person to another. This is probably from people who are from different states, different countries, maybe even. So coming together and managing to make all those video edits together to actually compress and then be able to upload it to YouTube is actually a really amazing feat of technology, especially for back then. Video sharing and uploading was not nearly as easy as it is now, obviously, with the course of time. So I remember back when I was watching YouTube, internet speeds were not even that good, where half the time you would have to wait and watch for the red bar line at the bottom to be loaded enough so you can watch your video without it stuttering. So I can't imagine trying to transfer that video content to other people across the nation to collaborate and edit things together to make one video. That just sounds insane to me.
And I feel this style in particular, the MEPs, I call them MEPs, but I don't know if that's the official official terminology. MEP, no, but the multi-editor projects were a lot more common on older YouTube. I don't think they're as common now whatsoever.
No.
Even though communication is a lot more open, I feel they just had more popularity when YouTube was first starting and kind of like you said, the more golden age of anime. Right. Not to say that they're not occurring still. Of course, they still are happening. People are still, collaborating because it's easy. You can go on Twitter and just be like, hey, who wants to make a video with me or who wants to help me edit something, right? But back in the day, it was all done mostly via YouTube. Yeah. So someone would put out a video and say, hey, I'm making this project, this song. Who would like to help me? Here are the parts to claim. And people would comment, I claim, or I want to do this part and edit the 10 seconds with that part. And then you kind of just got together and someone put them all together, So I don't know. It's interesting because I would love to know how common it is now, but I definitely just do not see them as much as people just kind of make their own AMV nowadays, and that's it.
Yeah, and I feel TikTok is a part of that greatly, where people usually just want to stitch something. It's easier to do that than to get a whole group of people together to consistently agree to do something and then have it all on one hard drive somewhere. It's much, much easier through TikTok, where they house all of that information and then you quickly can upload it and then you're satisfied with it. So it's definitely a quicker reward today than it is from back then. So
Sam?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. No, I mean, I feel bad because you gave me this whole lecture yesterday, and I did pay attention. And I learned everything, but you guys pretty much covered anything and everything there was to talk about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, I also just don't have any connection. I don't have any connection to it. I don't.
Which is fair.
I mean, I do think it's impressive as far as an editorial and technology standpoint that multiple people from around the globe or from around the country, different things, can get together and create one video and send the files and then do this and then do that. And it was probably a much more tedious process back in the day compared to what it is now, like you said. But other than that, I don't really have much on the
That's
topic.
fine.
No, that's fair.
So I'll just quickly go over this one. We're not going to talk too much about it, but another version of an AMV, which is kind of a little bit different here, is an MAD, which is like a MAD.
Yes.
Mad. I know
Mad.
that. I know that one.
Yes,
Yep, mad.
which also, not to interject, I apologize, but from the antisocial network documentary we watched yesterday, these kind of things were like they weren't necessarily described with that term mad, but they were all over the place in the original golden days of 4chan. So
because MADs more so originated on a website called Nico Nico Doga, which is still around, but it's renamed, it's rebranded. But Nico Nico Doga actually started in Japan, and it was kind of YouTube's like competitor in Japan in a way. Initially, fun fact, I read more about it after we did our talk, and the first like 6 months or so, this company was actually using YouTube to host its own videos on the platform.
Hilarious.
And then YouTube said, no, you're getting too much traction. We can't do this anymore because we got to have our videos. So then they opened up their own video hosting on their own site. But
that's hilarious.
Healthy competition.
Yeah.
Well, that's because that was before Google owned YouTube. So
Yes,
like they
correct.
literally were struggling with server space. And so like that's how Google bought YouTube, and they were like, thank you, thank God, because now we don't have to worry about the money for like buying literal servers.
So Nico,
I considered buying YouTube back in the day. They reached out to me with an offer, and I just said, look, it's just not in the cards right now. I gotta buy Wendy's today for lunch.
Yeah,
it's just not looking good.
So Nico Nico Noga is from Japan. It's a Japanese company that basically is just Japan's version of YouTube. But same thing with an AMV, an MAD. It stands for Music Anime Doga, which Doga stands for video. And so it's honestly just the Japanese term for AMV. The difference with AMVs are they're more so set to English songs. Of course, they can be any language, but it's more common in Western culture that it's in English, and the English songs are more so American, I would say. But the MADs, the MADs, they feature Japanese songs because those are the Japanese, who are making them. So that just makes sense to have it in their own language. But a lot of the MADs would be either screen recorded or someone would record it with a handheld and then upload it to YouTube. So it started crossing over, but it wasn't super, super common. But if people were like super like otaku weebs, they definitely would be like watching a lot of that as well.
Absolutely. Specifically on like 4chan, which is fascinating that like 4chan was kind of more innocent back in its like glory days of like Niki Nuku Doga as well, where like these MADs were like basically like memes, like how we think of them today. They were so chaotic, very short. Like they're also called MADs aptly so because like they were mad. Like you were like taking like an acid trip or something watching these things. Like they were hilarious.
It's just a whole different like humor type because it's a whole different culture, on the other side of the world. So the other thing I was going to say about it in just terms of difference with this platform versus YouTube has the comments underneath. Nico Nico Doga actually has the comments laying over top the video itself.
Yeah. So it was even more
like
of
a Twitch stream almost?
Yes. It was
exactly.
like it predated Twitch where just like Twitch, you can have chat. People can leave comments on the video, but it appears at a specific time point, and people can put like, so say for example, at 10 seconds in, you can leave your comment to play right at the 10-second mark.
That's wild. I didn't know that part. That's really cool.
So it was a really cool thing. So imagine you're having an AMV and then you can add your comment right on top of the video. So that was a really cool concept that really, did not become popular over here in the Western world until I would say like Twitch and live streaming more so.
Absolutely. And it even made it more even of a more collaborative experience because like I remember from watching that one YouTuber who was describing these, like half of the experience was that people were commenting on it. And so like I believe they said that now Nico Nico Doga no longer has that comment function anymore. Like it's more like your traditional like comment section. And so that was like a really sad day for that community where like, you wouldn't see your comment appear on the video anymore.
So I'm going to go through just a couple things real quick just to touch on different things that there are in regards to AMVs. There's different types of variations. Same concept. You're video editing something or in this case, an MMV, which is a manga music video, where people are taking manga images from the mangaka artists and they're making them into an animated video. They're doing the same exact thing with anime, but with manga. I think
almost
that's
like stop motion.
Yes, it's
that's
incredible.
A good way to put it.
It's incredible. Those they impressed me. And the ones that I showed you guys too was initially it started off, these type of ones started off just as fans, community members doing it. But then now a lot of like Shonen Jump, a lot of different manga companies make their own to promote the different manga that are coming out or that they want people to, purchase.
Yeah, it was really, really cool to see because like someone who may only be reading the manga of traditionally most people, at least in the West, usually just watch the anime, but there is a larger community in like Japan who reads just the comic books version of it, what that's a manga is. And so that'd be really cool to see like these panels like come to life in a way that's like not quite the traditional cartoon anime experience, but like it's like you're breathing life into pages. It's an interesting idea.
Mm-hmm. So
yes.
I'm yes, thanks Sam. Thank you for the contribution.
Yeah, no problem. I'm here.
Another one just real quick is a PMV, which is just a picture music video, kind of the same thing, but people might just use like fan art that people have drawn for an anime, for example. Another one is CMV, which is a cosplay music video. All of those MVs at the end are heavily inspired by, of course, AMV, which I would say almost kind of started first and kind of kickstarted a lot of the fandom stuff. Because everyone was watching the anime, but then how do you kind of transform it? You do the anime music video, then you might do the picture music video with fan art, and then you might do a cosplay music video if you're cosplaying it, but then want to still tell a story with it and have music play.
Yes.
Yes.
No, you're good.
No, you're good. So that was the bulk was what us talking about AMV. There's just another little thing I want to touch on that kind of have been inspired by AMV and just fandom video editing culture is something that's a little more recent, which are edits and fan cams.
Yeah, Sam knows more about anime edits. So, Sam, do you want to like talk about that? You watch them a lot.
Yeah.
On TikTok.
Oh, geez. Wow. Where do I begin? No, I don't really know a lot about it, but it does pop up more on my TikTok than any of this other stuff. Obviously, I'll see lots of edits of maybe Jujutsu Kaisen and Naruto mixed up together, or My Hero and Black Clover or something like that. It's usually taking a lot of shonen anime and mixing them together, but the cool thing is that they like match up perfectly. It's
like with transitions.
It's almost as if they're made to be this way, but they're taking maybe the original video from Jujutsu Kaisen and just implementing Kakashi and I almost said Sakura in there to fight Mahito or something like that. And it's very interesting because it's so well made that you would never know that it's an edit. If this was your first time seeing it, you might be like, oh, these are characters in that show and this is a really cool fight scene, but it's not. It's edited to look like a whole new thing, or it could be a fantasy, maybe mashup or something like that, like Sweet Life on Deck with Hannah Montana.
Yeah, so it's interesting to me, the concept with edits and fan cams, because they're both heavily inspired by one another, but also just with the presence of social media really taking off and taking its course to how it is nowadays, because edits came out at the same time as AMVs did, way back when YouTube first started and when people were first watching and making them, because they were on YouTube, very horizontal, and people sometimes are just lazy, or maybe, school gets in the way and you can't finish a full AMV to a full song. So maybe you first started, I've got 30 seconds of my AMV. Well, I can't finish it now. I'm just going to upload it and call it an edit because I was starting to edit it, right? But I never got to finish. So usually an edit back in the day is anywhere from up to 30 seconds. It could be 20 seconds to maybe even a minute. But now edits have kind of shifted more so to be vertical on your smartphone because you're making it for Instagram Reels, TikTok. It's kind of the same concept. Shorts. Yeah. You're just, it's the same thing. You're editing a video to music. based off your likes and things like that. But it is interesting how it has changed over the years. And definitely like I know TikTok, it's huge with edits. But I do feel like the newer edits, kind of like what you were saying, focusing on characters, Sam, and even doing crossover, like multi-anime crossovers and things, they are inspired for sure by fan cams.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and fan cams is a fascinating thing to me. Thanks for brushing up my knowledge about fan cam stuff, because it was something that like I learned about my early days of college and like late stages of high school, where like I knew about it, but like I listened to Asian music particularly through Japan first, so I listened to J-pop.
Mm-hmm.
But K-pop really blew up on the scene, and this is what fan cams are mostly known for, is like editing on like your favorite idols from like your K-pop band. And I thought it was just an interesting thing that like it's a new way for girls to fangirl over their favorite singers and like the community aspect of it. I know I keep saying that, but it truly is that. It's like all made from fans, where they select different, like I think you said it was usually like pirated recordings from like concerts and like show their favorite scenes.
Or it's people who are attended the concerts and people want to see a different POV. Or maybe that concert was never actually broadcasted with a company and no one had actually been recording it. So people are like, well, I want to see what they're how did they do? Like, how did my bias do? Like, how did my person do? How did, I don't know. How did my favorite member of Twice? How did my favorite member of Blackpink do? Or sorry, I was just never into K-pop, so I'm trying my best, everybody.
No, you're good. The only ones I really know are from like ones back in the day. So like Girls' Generation, like that's ancient for like people now. But it's just interesting because like back in the day, especially in like those 80s like rom-com films, or like you would see like someone deck out their locker with all the favorite pictures of their like favorite teen idol. And so now instead of that, people are doing the same thing, but like uploading a edit of like their favorite idol and all the different favorite scenes they have and uploading it to social media, so that like you're not the only one experiencing the like locker view when you open it up to school. The rest of your friends and people across the world can be like, oh wow, I love how you like edited this together, instead of like back in the day we would have been like, wow, I love how you use that scrapbook paper to frame his eyes. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the same idea. It's just a modern take on it, and it's just really fascinating.
And I think it's fascinating with like fan cams because it's more so focused on real people, but it still translates and is very similar to edits because it's just taking it the same kind of concept. Oh, I'm obsessed with this one person in the group and I really like their style, their dance, their voice, whatever, or even how they look or dress. And then you just take that and do the same thing with anime or that type of thing. But it is...
That's actually...
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, that's actually a really popular thing in sports media, too, is fan cams, essentially, like, where there'll be just, like, tons of edits online of just LeBron James or just Messi or just, you know, whoever your favorite player is or whatever, and you could watch an entire game where it's just the camera is focused on this one person.
That's
and it's
really cool.
It's actually very similar, so it's a weird two different, you know, mixes of culture coming together in this one weird little niche media.
Well, I was going to say, they even do it for actors, like that Pedro Pascal edit, you know, that's huge. And it kind of just brings, you know, people together to talk about, because they're like, oh, hey, I also like this person. You can share them. They're super easy to share. And I was going to say, oh my gosh, what was I going to say? I was going to say something important.
It'll come to you.
Oh, no, the sports. No, with the sports. Oh, something with the sports and the edits.
Sports.
So yeah,
LeBron James.
No, I was trying to say something where it was along the lines of, I was hoping if I rambled, it would just come right naturally back to me.
No, it's all right. I guess what I want to say, my last comment on fan cams while you think about what you wanted to say, is that it really is just fascinating, that like concept of something where like you are a nerd, and again, back in the day, like if you liked K-pop, you were not allowed to say that. Like it wasn't as socially acceptable as it is today. And so it's just fascinating how like things like that have like blossomed and grown in acceptance, mostly probably from these like teen girls back in the day being like, hey, this person's like kind of hot and you should enjoy this content too. And then other people are like, well, you know what, it's not like English, but the beat's kind of really good. I guess I'll listen to it. And so like I think from like, was the Western nation really got their first iteration of K-pop was like, that was Gangnam Style, right? Like that was the first one that
was
really
the
made
one
it
that
big on the scene.
really became a huge kind of widely known
Yeah.
K-pop
Yeah, I don't even know if I
song.
can say to that K-pop. You know,
It is K-pop.
Korean pop, yes, but at the same time, it's not like what you think of when you think of your standard K-pop.
No,
I guess.
which is also kind of fascinating how like K-pop has kind of evolved from that sort of standpoint of like now it's like viewed as like, oh, like it's just like NSYNC, but like they're in Korea, and but like back then really it was more about like you're just listening to like popular music from Korea. Does that make sense?
Mhm. So I couldn't remember what I was going to say, but that's okay, because what we're going to
Yeah.
do just to kind of end out the episode today is go over kind of what we talked about. So Larissa and Sam, I want to kind of quiz you real fast to see what
Yes.
have you learned and what do all of these things stand for. So what does an AMV stand for?
Sam, go ahead. Go first.
Anime or animated music video.
Good job.
Ooh.
Larissa?
extra point.
Yes, I wrote it down.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I agree.
All right.
That's really good.
What is an ASMV?
Anime story music video.
Yes, correct. What is a PMV?
got
Post
this,
Malone
Sam.
video.
No.
No.
No. PMV?
Yes.
Yeah, you got this. Fan art?
No.
All right.
I
Picture
don't remember this one.
Music video.
Oh.
Picture music
Okay.
video. What is a CMV?
Country music video.
Nope.
No. Cartoon music video.
Nope.
Ooh,
No. Wait. No.
When you dress
wait,
up?
Wait. See?
Yes.
Oh,
when you
cosplay
dress-
music
there
video.
You go.
Yeah.
Cosplay music video.
Yay!
What is a MEP? An MEP.
Oh, multi-edit production.
Super close.
Multi-edited project.
There you go.
Good job.
I mean,
Sam.
production and project are the
Same
same thing.
thing, yeah.
What is a MAD? This one might be harder. MAD. What does it stand for?
Music Anime Doga.
Yes, there you go. And
Music animated dogs.
Yes.
and then MMV.
MMV.
Multi marketing.
Video.
Multi-level
Video.
marketing videos. Yeah. MMV, you said?
Uh-huh.
What's the first
Oh,
word?
yes, I got this.
Oh, wait.
You got it?
Manga.
Mhm.
Music
Manga
video.
music video. Yay!
I got it all on my own. See, I paid attention.
Good job, everybody. Yeah, so
There's
this
so
was-
many three-letter things
Yes.
with M and V
Yeah.
in it. It's hard. They're all mixed
Do you
together.
know why I had to have like a lecture with you guys? Because I was like, there's no way I can just come on the podcast and start spitting these like
No.
3-letter things and expect you all to know them. Like,
And I still don't.
Aww.
I'm kidding. I paid attention, and I feel like Sensei Steph
you
has taught me
guys
a lot.
get A+.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Spiffy.
You're welcome. I hope you guys learned something. Hopefully you too, audience, if you've never kind of experienced this type of fandom culture or this kind of subgenre of it, it's a lot. It is a very lot.
It's a
But
lot.
honestly, just go onto YouTube and type AMV and your favorite anime, you're going to find stuff that you're going to enjoy. And
You can also go to spiffysteffi.com and take her masterclass on AMV, and it's only $10,000 a month.
Right.
Well, I was going to say to our listeners, there's a really neat feature on YouTube to do a more advanced search with filters, and you can actually do and view your searches with view count. So you can actually see which AMVs have the highest views.
Oh.
So if you're ever looking for a place to go or look for some stuff, that's a way you can do it on YouTube as well. But
That's
Yes.
cool.
yeah, well, thank you guys for discussing and having this discussion based off of, just video editing in fandom culture. I think it was super cool. I'm very passionate about it. I've done it my whole life.
I
I've
can
loved
tell.
it. Yes. So I really enjoyed this episode, and thank you for your time the other day having
Yes.
our lecture about it so I could show you the examples as well. It's kind of hard to show examples of stuff like that on a podcast per se, but I figured a discussion works as well. If you guys enjoyed, we're going to be back next Thursday, of course, with a brand new episode, so you can stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for listening. I don't know if you guys notice, I'm trying to get better at doing our little outros when I host each week. So I'm trying to be
You're
super
doing
professional with it.
You got this.
Thank you. If you would like, I believe our Twitter handle has changed. Is that correct, Sam?
I mean,
So,
it never
long story-
changed. It just, I realized for the longest time that Shifting Tones Pod or whatever it was supposed to be, I think it was Shifting Tones Pod.
Mm-hmm.
When I typed it in, it like just didn't tell me that it was too many characters, and so it auto corrected it to Shifting Tones Pod, which I never realized is what the issue was. So now I think it's Shifting
womp.
Undertones. Right?
No, so
it's just Shifting.
on Twitter, if you
I
would
don't know
like
what it
to
is.
follow us, it is at shifting_tones.
That's what I just said.
I didn't hear the underscore.
Shifting_tones. Yeah.
I did not hear you say underscore. Maybe my ears
Run
need
it
to be
back,
checked
editor.
out.
Editor, run it back.
Well, regardless, you can also, if you're already following us on any other social media already, you can go to our link tree too, and so you don't have to remember all of the specific
That is fair.
handle names as well.
Yeah. I think I have the Shifting Tones link tree in my Twitter bio as well. So
Okay, perfect. So people can find us there.
Yep.
Feel free to also give us 5 stars on Spotify, right? Yes, 5
Yes.
stars on Spotify.
yeah, why not?
Apple Podcasts.
Yelp.
Yeah, Yelp. That one too.
I don't think
can
we're on
give
Yelp.
us- you can give
Uber
us-
We're not on
Eats.
Yelp. We're not a restaurateur yet.
You can give us a review there if you'd like. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear any thoughts and opinions. I'd love to hear people's thoughts and opinions on, this whole topic from today, because that would be awesome. But we'll be back next week, and you can find me on my socials at Spiffy Steffi. You can find Sam at
Thoughts and prayers.
Wow. I didn't know that was so somber. Okay.
No, I'm kidding. You can find me at Sir Captain Sam.
and Larissa.
Yeah. You can find me at Larissa.Schaefer.
I have been your host, Steph, today, and I'd like to thank you all so much for listening. Hope you have a great rest of your day or night, and we will see you next Thursday with our brand new episode. Goodbye!
Goodbye!
Bye!